Its purpose is to provide thought-provoking dialogue with a slighted perspective. Here we encourage influential conversations. Give us a listen, like and share. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram. Welcome to CEO and the Doctor.
What's up, man? See on the doctor. What is the day? July 13th. How
Yeah,
you
July
guys doing?
13th.
How everybody
We
doing?
are back. How's everybody?
I hope everybody's good. Hold on, let me fix the sound. I feel like we had a little bit of okay. Yeah, so tonight we talking players getting paid in conversations. But we got a pretty decent show before we get there. Starting to flash like always. Before we jump into that though, you know what I'm saying? Yesterday, we started a new segment which is completely exclusive from the show. So I hope you guys had a chance to check that out. YouTube only, 30 minutes of
Yeah.
CRT with CO and the doctor. So I posted the link on Facebook. The links also should be on Instagram as well. But go out to our YouTube channel, subscribe. We had a couple new subscriptions yesterday, so we appreciate that.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it.
Don't really know the frequency on that, but we're going to try to stay consistent. CRT is important. If you've been paying attention, CRT is getting a whole bunch of pushback from everybody because
Yeah.
they don't want to know. They don't want the truth to be told. I'll say that. So we're going to try to do our part on our platform and put that out there with CRT lessons. But other than that, how you doing today, P? What else you got going on?
I'm good, man. We talked. Pet ownership is an emotional thing. It really is. And my dog, Shadow, we've had her for 13 years now. She's 13, and I got to put her down tomorrow, man. So it's been a kind of somber day, somber yesterday, but it's better for her. She's suffering, she's in pain, she's got a couple of illnesses, and she's not getting any better. So just prepping for that tomorrow, and that's about it, bro. That's it. That's been a huge weight for these last couple of days. You know, I, I never knew what it was like to own a pet. I never had one growing up, and the kids had like fish and hamsters and stuff like that. We never had a dog. This is totally different, dude. It's totally different having a dog, and now I know. And you know, call me whatever. I don't want to go through this again. So I won't get another dog.
Yeah, we're kind of up in the air on that too. Manny's getting old. He's starting to have issues.
Yeah.
So, I'm the one that's more so the realist in the family and look at it like
Right.
that. You should get some mad at me when I even mention the thought.
Yeah.
But I'm kind of up in the air. Like, we kind of said our next dog might be like a French bulldog just because they
Hmm.
kind of funny little dogs. But I don't
Yeah.
know, man. Like, we haven't, of course, dealt with that situation yet. But I think, things might change once we have to deal with that. Because I mean, he's pushing his life expectancy. Boxers are usually in the 9 to 11 year range, and this fall he'll be 10, and he's definitely showing the signs in his
Yeah.
face, losing weight. I think he has like an intestinal thing going on. Legs
Yeah.
don't really do what they supposed to. He's not as active as he once was.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Same.
man,
Same thing.
sad stuff, man.
So
Sad stuff.
very, very sad. Pet owners love your pets. We know quite a few people that have dogs and stuff. So uh, I don't know. Just damn. It's it's sad to even think about. So let's just move on.
For sure.
Uh,
Let's jump into the flash then, man. Let me cue our music. So I'll start with Justice for Gwen, man. So,
yeah, man.
I didn't think that this story had caught a lot of attention initially, just because
Hmm.
where I had read it on one of the sites we follow on Instagram. And so, I thought it was just a small time story. Well, I
Right.
mean, it apparently made some waves, and as I called it, justice for Gwen. That's what I was asking for. She actually got it. And with that, though she was facing a charge of potentially violating probation and heading back to jail, she
Yeah.
was awarded some leniency. So I'm glad that they worked that out. I'm glad that they fixed that. This was a 76-year-old woman who was trying to, if anything, better herself in a computer
Yeah.
course and, missed some phone calls, missed her curfew hour, and
Mhm.
they were trying to reset her basically and send her back. Now, later you're gonna hear me say rules are rules are rules when it comes to a
Right.
situation dealing with the Olympics.
And,
But I
and
also think that sometimes you got to have a heart, and somebody had a
and
heart.
I agree. I agree wholeheartedly with what you're saying in regards to this. And I'm looking at the story right now on USA Today, and the judge in a four-page ruling Tuesday. I don't see the date of this, but just before all of this came to light, U.S. District Court Judge Deborah Chasanow said it would do little good to force Gwen Levi, a 76-year-old woman who's in remission from lung cancer and whom Justice Department had just declared nonviolent, to serve the entirety of her sentence. She's 76.
Right. Exactly.
So it's
So
nice to see that there's with everything that we've ever seen dealing with the Justice Department, with the legal system. It's nice to see some sanity
very true.
for once.
Very true. So again, let's go ahead and give those individuals that had a heart a little bit of something. Way to have a heart. Way to have a heart. So moving on. Now we got to talk, and I think I'm going to butcher her name. Is it Zyala? Zyla? How you say her name? Avant?
I would say Zayla
Zyla?
Avant-Garde.
Avant Agard. Okay, I forgot she has a hyphen in her name, so
Yeah.
apologize on the little ticker down there. But so she was the first African American to win a national spelling bee. She's from Louisiana, and the girl has big dreams. She's a basketball player, hell of a basketball player, 14
Dude.
years old. And I'm
Yeah.
telling you, if you haven't seen her videos that have gone viral of her practicing and just hooping in general, go check
Yeah.
that out. She wants to
Girl
go to
got
Harvard.
crazy skills.
Crazy.
Handles. Oh my
Yeah.
God.
Yeah. And so, it reminded me Lawrence Fishburne movie, Aquila and the Bee.
Mhm.
And of course, I didn't get a chance to watch it live, but
Yeah.
over time, African American children haven't really, performed
Yeah.
at the highest level in these spelling bees. It's kind of like
He's the
something that
first.
yes, she's the first one. Not the
Yeah.
first to compete,
93-year
first one
history.
to win. Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's huge.
93-year history.
That's huge.
Massive.
Shit, she getting
Yeah.
one too. She getting one too. that's huge.
That's young black girl magic right there.
93 years, and it's the first time ever that an African American child has won. So that's amazing, man. So I will be keeping my eyes peeled for her because she says she wants to go to Harvard, and we know
Yeah.
that's an Ivy League school. So ultimately, her sports probably will not be, televised all that much.
Yeah.
She's going to play college basketball. I mean,
She's gonna get some shine. The girl
man,
is definitely gonna get some shine at the college level playing basketball. It's her handle, man. Oh my God! Pull up
man,
her YouTube videos and check them out.
real shit, man, real
I
shit.
mean, crazy good.
Now I didn't have this up here, but
Yeah,
I mean, I guess I would be remiss if I didn't. I'm gonna just throw this in. It's on the fly. We ain't even discuss it.
right.
The last piece of the flash. We got to talk about that Karen in the Victoria's Secret shop.
Oh my God, man. That
Now, bro, I don't even know where to start. That is the most ridiculous type of Karen I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Now, again, I'm not going to say anything about what her potential mental health issues are. I don't know that.
Right.
I don't know
Yeah.
her to judge that.
Yeah.
But she definitely played that card.
Just everything on the surface from seeing that video and her attempting to assault the black lady that was videoing this thing. So, my first thought when I see any of this kind of stuff, I'm like, okay, what prompted the person to record? So there had to be an altercation that we don't know about. All right. So obviously there was an altercation there, and the Karen tried to assault the sister while she's recording, and that shit did not happen. It didn't go down the way she wanted.
Can I interject real quick?
Yeah,
I'm gonna
yeah,
say I think this is what happened with all the individuals who've been getting recorded over these last few days, years, months, whatever.
Mhm.
I think that as soon as that hit and she realized, oh man, I did assault her, and now this is
Yeah.
a viral. What can potentially happen to me? My
You
job,
can't put the genie back in the bottle. You
my
can't.
reputation. And so I think at that point, now she's like, well, I got to turn the tide towards me. And
Yeah, I
that's
need to
when
be
this
the victim.
whole screaming, crying,
Yeah,
toddler type,
yeah,
incident that would occur over 10 minutes. First off, it took the security way too long to get there. Then we
yeah.
start to see, and I hate to say it like this, but when Karen starts to get a little bit of emotional gratitude toward her, people start to feel sorry for her. Well, why don't you just cut the camera off? This, that. No, call it
No.
what it is. She's acting a whole ass, falling out, acting like she's 6 years old,
Yeah,
mad that she's now viral. Okay. So
yes.
she thought this was going to be a closed event and it wasn't. And
Nah.
she's embarrassed and she's probably worried about all the things I just mentioned.
Yeah.
And ultimately she doesn't know how to handle it. And
And
I'm not
these
buying it. That's just me. I'm not buying that shit.
these situations are so simple. Hey, I'm sorry. My bad.
Right.
In the story, it's just that simple. But no, she exacerbated the situation, and then she made herself the victim. Oh, she assaulted me. She assaulted me. Ah, this woman assaulted you. She's got you on video assaulting her.
Right.
She calls the police. Oh, I feel threatened.
Mm-hmm.
And that's code for I'm a white woman and I'm gonna use my tears against this black person. We've seen too much of this. And you would think with everything we've seen over the last 4 years, 5 years at this point, that this shit would have stopped.
Yeah, that's this. They got to put this to bed. I like what Mark
It's
said. Let me
crazy.
bring that up. This is definitely a term that's being used. Weaponized tears.
Yes,
Absolutely.
yes.
Absolutely.
Very dangerous. Very dangerous.
Yep. And it's been doing it
Crazy, man.
years of this, bro. Years of this. Cost people their lives in certain events. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So yeah, man, I just had to put that in there because it's fresh and it popped up and I was like, I sent it to you this morning. We talked about it a little bit. I was like, yeah, we had to speak about that, man.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
that's the Flash, man. So moving on into some news. We'll start with the Nuggets. I'll let you run with that.
Okay, so our last show we talked about a
Surprising me.
situation where this guy calling it a bomb threat about his chicken nuggets. He didn't get the sauce for his chicken nuggets. Okay. This saddens me because I know this news is usually some funny shit. This is funny, but the two black faces I'm looking at right now, that's the troubling part for me. Okay.
Yes.
Two accused of pulling a gun on a McDonald's employee in North Harris County, Texas, over French fries. I don't know if they had too little salt or not enough
I don't
salt,
think
but
they
they
were
got
hot.
mad.
I don't think they were hot. I think that's what it was. Something about
So
the fries were not crisp and hot.
it's crazy. So
The
the
guy.
cops finally caught the two assailants, and one's name is Davion Guillory, and the other one is Trachea Cohen. All right, Trachea Cohen was just out on probation for aggravated assault with a deadly weapon.
And so you
I
gonna
mean,
risk it all over some fucking fries.
some French fries.
Listen, man, in a world, a country in which we're attempting to bring light to the problems we face being Black Americans,
Yeah,
this type of shit does no good for us.
none,
Like,
none.
like I said, normally we joke about news and things like that, but we bring certain things like this because sometimes it's just unbelievable. So you out on probation, just damn all that in general. You so upset at your French fry reception, if that's the right terminology, that you go as far as
Wow.
pulling weapons out and threatening people over that. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like, is that worth now being, of course, violating your probation, going back to jail? Is that worth potentially getting killed when somebody responds, if they respond, and you got a weapon over fries? Is that really
oh,
worth it?
surprise.
And
Yeah,
it's the type of shit that we are trying to highlight when we are screaming bloody murder of cops treating us injustice and things
yeah,
like that. But yet here we are doing stupid shit. The same thing you talk about in Chicago, your hometown, where they're shooting for sport. They're killing each other over menial things, and yet we're screaming from the rooftop. The cops are beating on us and killing us in this, but
yeah.
we do dumb shit like this, so we got to hold ourselves accountable. Gotta hold ourselves accountable.
And you know, honestly,
Nothing
and when
ridiculous.
you say accountability, we have to hold ourselves as individuals accountable for our actions. Now, we as a people, we have no problem with holding somebody accountable. We're going to cover that in a few seconds. We're going to cover that in a second.
Absolutely.
We will look. He does not represent me. Lock his ass up. We will do that in a heartbeat.
Facts.
You know, but
Facts.
as individuals, this is something that we really need to take stock in individually, what our actions are and the repercussions of those. I won't say the repercussions, the potential repercussions of those actions, because there was obviously no foresight, no thought behind this at all.
Right. Yeah. And it's crazy. One thing that we have to mention, and this happened a while ago.
Mhm.
I can't remember what city it was, but I remember there was this outpouring of rage that I think a couple individuals had broken into someone's home,
Mhm.
and that individual black person ended up dying because the person was there and they killed him for intruding.
Yeah.
And of course, they always get the craziest sound bites. But one of the sound bites was either a sister or a girlfriend or a family member. It was a female. And she was like,
Yeah.
yeah, he was stealing, but it shouldn't have cost him his life. And I just somewhat just kind of froze like, what? Like,
Yeah.
that's the whole point of self-defense. That's the whole
Right.
point of being able to carry a weapon to protect yourself and your family. And you're telling me, well, yeah, he was stealing, but it shouldn't have cost him his life.
I'm
Huh?
supposed to
That's
stop, wait, and make sure
yeah. I
he's
didn't go
only
looking for
stealing
trouble.
and there's no threat to my life. Are you serious?
Yeah, that person wasn't looking for trouble. He brought trouble upon himself by
Right.
violating their life. And that's the
I'm
type
not.
of shit that I don't get,
Yes.
because we won't take responsibility, like you just pointed out, for situations like that. Instead, it's, oh, look what they did to my baby, or oh, look what they did to whomever. And they mad and upset about it. But when he would have came home with whatever goods he had and then tried to fleece them and sell them and made money, it's just, oh boy, hit another lick and I got this shit
Right.
for whatever. So we have to be accountable, and we have to call things that are absolutely ridiculous, and hold those people in the light that they
For
deserve.
sure. For sure.
And that's what I'm trying to say,
And
man.
I think that's how these situations arise.
Indeed, man.
That's how Chicago happens. That's how shootings in Cleveland, New York, Atlanta happen, is because we don't hold ourselves individually accountable. And there's no critical thinking. There's no, you see this stuff, you would think, yo, I better not do that shit because this is what happened in the news to X person. But
Right.
I know news just took a turn, but this shit it begged further conversation because of these two brown faces that I'm looking at right now on my screen.
Indeed. And we digress. Let's move on, man.
Well,
So I have to pose this question, Doc. What is up with the Olympic Committee? All right. Now it's been a couple
yeah.
weeks since the whole Shakara Richardson situation, and it's been even a couple more weeks since they announced that it is not natural for basically people of color, so black swimmers, to wear a swim cap in the
Hmm.
water. Okay, and we're gonna talk about these two things. But truly, what's up with this Olympics committee? So I'll start with the first question I pose is, despite what she did, we know she
Yeah.
smoked marijuana and then tested positive. Now she can't run in the Olympics.
Hmm.
Do you agree with that? Is it a rule is a rule is a rule, or should they have some type of exception because it wasn't performing enhancing? Take it away, Doc.
All right. A rule is a rule is a rule. In this case, all right. I'm not saying that the rule is not antiquated, because it is.
Absolutely.
Okay, but that tends to happen a lot in the world. We can look at our legal system, our school systems, things like that. Things just don't adjust with society the way that it needs to. Things in society don't adjust the way it needs to in regards to technology, things like that. Rules are rules. All right, she smoked marijuana. We all know that's a performance dehancing. All right, it
Yep.
doesn't enhance anything. Maybe your appetite.
Appetite,
The
relaxation.
last time I smoked some weed, that's all it did. It made me hungry. Uh, so yeah, a rule's a rule's a rule. So her not being allowed to be on the team,
Mhm.
that's a condition of her being, her testing positive for marijuana. And we all know the, World Anti-Doping Agency views marijuana as
Wada.
WADA views it as an enhanced, performance enhancing drug. So again, it's not I don't think that it's a matter of this being something that's being blown out of proportion or racial. I'm
Now,
not going to
I'm
go
gonna
there.
bring up. Hold on, real quick, Doc. I'm gonna bring
Yeah,
up Donna's,
yeah, I see it.
quote. So her mom
Right.
passed away. We
Yeah,
definitely know that. Is that
yeah.
a just reason for this, in your opinion? Should
And
she somewhat get taken it
here's
light on her
here's
because
the
of the situation?
question.
Okay,
This would be my question. All right, would her mom be okay with her smoking weed before she has to go run for the Olympics?
I have to say probably not. Now, there's other things
Right.
that come in this.
Yeah.
Now we're talking
Yeah.
about the Olympics. They're in Tokyo,
Yeah.
but she
She
popped
ran
positive
in Oregon,
Oregon, which is
where
a
it's
state
legal.
where it's legal.
Right.
Should that have any play, or is it still, we're looking at the higher, entity
Again, it's
in the Olympics?
antiquated rules. It's
Yeah.
antiquated rules. I personally, I know how I feel. She should be running.
Okay.
Personally, I feel like she should be running
Right.
because, come on, weed is not an enhancing drug.
Very true.
However, the rule says this, and because the rule says this, there's repercussions behind that, and there's no exceptions for, hey, you're in Oregon, and unfortunately there's no exceptions. Your mental health, it would be, it helps your mental health to have done this so you can relax and you can process the loss of your mom. I'm not, I don't, this is not me not taking that any of those things into account. It's what the rule says, and unfortunately this is the byproduct of that. And maybe this situation, maybe she's going to be the catalyst for that thing to change.
True. And
It,
before I give my perspective, I'm gonna give her a clap. This is why.
yeah,
I'm gonna give her applause for no kidding, accepting everything straight and square. There's no
graciously,
excuses. She told,
graciously,
like Donna
yes,
just said, look, my mom passed away. It was unexpected. I was going through a lot and I made a decision. I made a choice.
right,
And ultimately, because we're talking about Olympic sports, that's every 4 years. It's cost me my 4 years of work, dedication, that I won't be able to compete because we know she's the
yeah,
fastest woman probably in the world. I think
yeah,
she is the fastest woman in the
she
world.
is, she is,
But she will not be on that stage. But rather than her make any excuse for herself, she really just told her truth and said, I accept what they gave me and I'm moving
yeah,
forward. And she'll compete after Olympics, like late in August with the
yeah,
next event that's coming up. But she has been suspended for 30 days.
yeah,
Now, everybody in the sports world, because here's where it starts to evolve, right? And we've seen this before.
mm-hmm.
Everybody started to come to her defense, saying that the Olympics committee was jacked up, they're terrible, boycott the Olympics, all this other jazz. Yet we've seen this before with Colin Kaepernick, but
Yeah,
in all actuality, who's really willing to do so? Right? If you really feel that strong, if you really
yeah,
want her to run, who's willing to, no kidding, sacrifice their own potential success at the Olympics by boycotting? I don't think nobody will. I think
yeah.
right now it's just a
No, I
bunch of
don't think so either.
talk. But what my position is on the whole Sha'Carri thing is sometimes it takes someone with such a presence for them to get a message across.
Mm-hmm.
And I hate that it has to cost her, the opportunity to run for gold and
Yeah,
probably definitely win it. I hate that it has to, cost her that. But ultimately, she now becomes, to me, the voice and the truth of
yeah,
everybody else of what not
mm-hmm.
to do. Because I remember when Marion Jones, after the fact, years of competing
Yeah,
with performance enhancing drugs,
killing it
then got caught,
against,
then had to go to jail, then got stripped of all her medals. That was the sad story. We had to
yeah,
watch her fall from grace. So, and that was a whole different situation. So it's not a, one for one comparison. But I
right,
also think Sha'Carri, she really has to, you know, now be a voice. Perhaps maybe, she gets out there and say, hey, look, make smart choices. I don't want her to be some kind of like centerpiece because it's not that big of a deal.
right,
But I mean, this is huge because would this happen to, let's say a LeBron in NBA, or let's say
Yeah.
whoever's the best NFL player? We've seen players that are not quite the best, i.e., the Josh Gordons of the world. But let's say Tom Brady lit up. You think they would suspend Tom Brady?
No.
Do you really think that?
And,
Do you think there would be something made in his case? You know what I'm saying?
and that's the crazy thing about, all right, so the Olympics being an international event, I'm going to go back to the rules being what they are. In regards to her role in how things progress moving forward, think historically. Every time that there has been significant change, someone has to have been sacrificed.
Yep.
Colin Kaepernick is the sacrifice in the NFL. The NFL finally, oh my God, there is a problem. All right, they acknowledge that there's a problem. They're still not doing anything significantly about the problem. Okay, let's be honest here. At all. Well, I mean, we can go back and talk ad nauseum about the opportunist that Jay-Z is.
Yep.
In regards to that, but I'm not going to go there. But
we've done
historically,
that. We've been there. Yeah.
There's always someone that sacrifices for that change that has to happen, and I believe she will now be the catalyst for change in how WADA and the American Olympic Committee looks at marijuana.
Yeah, because marijuana is being legalized. Yeah. I can't remember how many states it's in now, but it's close to half, if not more than half. Yeah. And it's on every voting council, every voting cycle. Yeah. So, everybody's eventually trying to get it passed. So, again, it's not looked at as doping or any other kind of performance enhancing type of situation. So perhaps maybe this is something they need to, get off the books, but at the moment it's not. And I think maybe if the Olympics, and it always has to come down like this, if the Olympics, as far as the women's track and field events goes, when it comes to ratings and reviews, because all that's just looked at, if it's not the same, because we're missing her, and the true individual out there that should be running for the titles is not out there, they'll make it on just that. They'll change things on just that. We've seen that. You could take like certain injury rules in NFL. People have been getting hit in the knees forever. Tom Brady got hit in the knee in 2007. Guess what? You can't do no more.
Change the rule. Can't hit the knee.
Can't get hit.
There's always a cost that someone has to pay, and that's just the nature of this whole thing. Now, in regards to the swim cap,
there we go. Switch gears
now,
with the swim.
I'm gonna take a different approach with this.
Okay.
This situation with the swim cap is indicative of the need for CRT.
Talk about it.
When you think about how race figures into this, okay, subconsciously, I would say that this committee is looking at these caps like, whoa, wait a minute, they don't look like the caps we've been using for the last 100 years. Mm-hmm. They can't use these things. They're not like everybody else's caps. Mm-hmm. That is an example of how systemic racism has infiltrated an institution. Mm-hmm. That does not make the people that are making these decisions racist. It just highlights how race subconsciously figured into these decisions that they make.
And they're not. I'm sorry. Go ahead. My bad.
They're not looking. They're not looking at this individualistically. They're looking at it as a collective. Everybody swimming has the same kind of head. Everybody is swimming has the same kind of hair. And oh my God, well, they're black. They're gonna have to wear the same kind of cap.
And instead of logically, it's blatant because it says natural black hair. That's blatant. What I mean? So we could talk about, the science behind, everything, right? The same way you try to do with cars, the same way you try to do with motorcycles. Aerodynamically, you're trying to make yourself as aerodynamic when it comes to, going against the media. In this case, the media being water. Sometimes the media is just the wind. So if we let women who have natural hair, swim without a cap that's going to conceal their hair, they naturally have all kind of drag. Like tons of drag. Their hair,
wet hair, and stuff like that. Yeah.
Like it's gonna be, flopping all over the place, the whole thing. And at what point has has anyone who had, I guess, a voting membership to make this a decision
Yeah.
not look at that? Like
Right.
we can go white women, they got long blonde hair. You wouldn't just I mean, it's the same thing in
And
my
and
opinion.
and
What
and it
I'm saying?
goes great point because it goes back to critical race theory. You
Mhm.
know, instead of critical race theory, well, as the world has evolved, especially in this country, the last thing is that's ever considered is the culture of others.
Facts.
Their culture needs to meet this culture. You know, um, Americans are horrible at being bilingual.
Okay.
You need to speak my language. That's
Right.
that's the American attitude about everything. Even when we go to other countries, you've seen it. I'm sure you have in
Oh,
all of
hell
your travels. Well, they don't speak English. No, why don't you learn the language? Why don't you learn that language? Why don't you show some
yeah.
intellect and consider others? And the point I'm trying to make is the Olympic Committee and the American Olympic Committee, uh, they're not looking at different cultures and respecting those cultures and allowing these people that are competing to honor those cultures.
It's kind of ridiculous when you break it
You
down.
need to meet our standard. And that standard historically has always been Anglo-Saxon. Always.
And that's where I was going with this. Like, and I don't want to say this crazy, but again, maybe I'm having a moment where speaking the truth, though it sounds kind of, jacked up, is what needs to happen. But if you noticed over these last couple Olympics, more and more African Americans have been in the water, both male
Yeah.
and female, when it comes to swimming. And some
Mhm.
of these individuals have actually been medaling
Yeah.
and actually becoming like, hey, a name. I mean, we can think about one movie, Pride, that goes back to 1970s in Philly, and that's the only real black swimmers I can even talk about.
Right.
Like, sure, if you knew how to swim coming up, you knew how to swim, but nobody was competing on the swim team. Maybe that's us just being, very like shallow minded and only playing the
Come on.
major sports. But
What's
nobody
the
was jumping in the
stereotype?
water saying, I'm a
Right.
swimmer.
What's the
Like,
stereotype?
exactly.
The
Black
stereotype
people
is
don't
we
swim.
don't know how to swim.
We don't know how to swim. I'm not the greatest swimmer. Ike and Chuck could tell you that,
Yeah.
but I can swim to save my life or my
Yeah.
or my children's lives. But
Right. Right.
staying on point.
That's my limit right
Yeah,
there.
right. Staying on point.
Survival. Yeah.
Are they afraid that potentially, the next dominance in swimming, like we see in gymnasts now, that being Simone Biles, could
Woo.
potentially be
Yeah.
an African American and a woman at that? And
Yeah.
I think I promise you, man, I promise you, without being as aggressive as it sounds, I feel like
Mhm.
sometimes they have to try to impede
Yeah.
that because
Well,
they're not ready for that.
here's
We
a thought.
dominated everything. Tennis.
Yeah.
Look at the Williams sisters.
Yeah.
That was a white sport forever.
Let's
I
go.
mean, come on.
Let's look at what's happening in baseball right now. Okay. You've
Tommy,
got man, Shohei, whoo, taking it
savage.
over. And this is where I'm disappointed most. Stephen A making those bullshit remarks about he needs to learn how to speak English living in this country.
Goofball.
He's since apologized for it.
Yeah,
But
which was
what
week
we've
2.
seen is baseball being moved out of rural inner city areas,
Mhm.
and the number of black baseball players has greatly diminished in my lifetime. Uh, so baseball's not making a concerted effort to get back into these areas to recruit, more black players. They go to talent for sure. They
Yep,
go looking for talent, but they want to keep that talent in a box.
that's
That's
facts.
just what baseball is doing. We've seen, as Donna said, golf. Tiger Woods took golf over. Okay,
Destroyed.
let's be honest. He destroyed it,
Yeah.
changed the landscape of it.
Yep.
Tennis, the Williams sisters changed the landscape of it, and we're seeing more and more minorities take over these things. And
Naomi.
you make a very, very valid point when you ask, uh, are they afraid? As well, they should be, because we are making strides socially, economically, that are putting us as a people in these places to provide us opportunities to play tennis, to play golf, to
Yeah.
swim competitively. All right. Historically,
Paying,
we
paying for
haven't
things.
had these
Yeah.
opportunities. Historically, we haven't had the opportunities to go and do these things. Now, baseball has always been a common sport in high school, basketball, football, things like that. Historically, let's go back to history. For decades, the
Mhm.
NFL tried to keep black people, black men, from being quarterbacks.
Oh hell yeah. Oh hell yeah.
And you've seen what has happened over this last look. If I'm thinking, I could be wrong, but I would say nearly half the starting quarterbacks in the NFL are black now.
I don't think it's quite half, but we're growing.
It's pretty
Oh,
close. It's
we're
pretty
growing.
close. So
Yeah.
you see these strides, and these are doors we've had to kick in. No one's
Punt.
opened these doors up. No
Right.
one's opened these doors.
Yeah. Fact.
And back to CRT. In order for these things to change, you have to acknowledge that people of color exist on an equal playing field as everyone else.
And I'm gonna close the segment on this. I'll take my little bro shoots indie boys with me, Chuck,
Mhm.
or Q, how he goes by. His son, 9 years old, 8 years old, I
Yeah,
believe, and he swims. And he's the only African American on the team. And his kid loves it. And at this point,
yeah,
his kid's so young, he doesn't see color. He just doing
right.
something he loves. And it's kind of his second, third sport type thing. But that just goes back to my point, as you said as well. We're opening these avenues to give these kids this type of opportunity. Certain
Yeah,
things that were always looked at as not for us, like
yeah,
being known as a grandmaster in chess, that type of thing. We're getting more attention there. Swimming, what you say, tennis, golf, all these
yeah,
things for minorities. Like, I mean, shit, Tiger Woods, when he first got on the tour, he still wasn't accepted at the club down in
yeah.
Augusta, I think.
Georgia. Yeah,
Georgia, he
Augusta.
wasn't
Yeah,
even
yeah,
accepted. They
yeah.
kind of
Well, if
like
he
tried,
wins, maybe he'll have
yeah,
collard greens and watermelon.
exactly. They
Really?
tried that was a real ugly time for sports in
Yeah,
the early 2000s. I was like,
yeah,
he was still a kid at that point. And
yeah,
it's like, yo, like for real, like this is modern day. I need to be able to be accepted here as well. So, like you said, punching the doors down, kicking the doors down. But these are situations that I honestly feel when I ask that question. I think that they
yeah.
fear what's next. I mean, because we can go back to hockey. It has always been an Anglo-Saxon sport. And your
Man,
boy
yeah,
Supine and others and
yes,
others and others
yeah,
have named a name and became the faces of video games and things like that,
yeah.
because he was on the video game cover not too many years ago. So
Just last year. Well,
yeah,
2019. 2019
2019.
was on the cover of
So
NHL.
take your guy, the guy you always talk about, your Formula One racer. I can't think of his
Yeah,
name right now.
Lewis
What's
Hamilton. Lewis
yeah,
Hamilton owns Formula One.
always been
Yeah,
Anglo-Saxon of some sort,
yes,
Italian, white, whoever,
yes,
but never
always.
a black dude.
Because
Never a black dude.
the barrier, the biggest barrier to anyone of color getting in is money.
Funny. You take Bubba in NASCAR.
Yeah,
Here's another one.
yeah,
Like, so
yeah,
these individuals now are changing. We're not just doing the big three: baseball, football, basketball. They're
yeah,
entering other, and I think as we continue to enter more and more and more, that becomes a little bit more scary for them. And like you said, CRT, it's in everything. And this is a perfect example of what
yeah,
certain things should look like. See my air quotes, and what they're starting to look like.
yeah.
Yeah, so that's the ask for this week. Let's move into the next news. Ah, man.
So this goes back to us holding our own
Account.
collectively accountable.
Yeah.
Look, when OJ got off, I know I'm going back a little bit. When OJ got off, I know Black America celebrated like a motherfucker. I
We
did
talked
too,
about that.
and
Yeah.
it was not because he was innocent. It was because we finally saw the system work the same way for us for
Very,
once.
very true.
So, in regards to, man, when I saw that Joe Brown video, him basically dissecting point for point why Bill Cosby shouldn't have been locked up, why he's innocent, and these women should be held accountable. They are complicit. in what Bill Cosby was doing, man, look, somebody locked this man in an old folks home, and I I I still can't find the words. I still cannot find the words. I
Bruh. Listen, no one in their right mind, and I hope I'm saying this as true as possible. Maybe there's the one or two to go against the grain, but no one in their right mind is asking to be drugged, okay, and
no,
then taken advantage of. I'm
no,
sorry, So to say something in that sense that he was just giving them what they were asking for, and then tie that with certain points too, certain points being that there are situations where women are not being as responsible as they should be,
yeah,
and they put themselves in bad situations, and then bad things happen, and then at the end of the day it's like, why did this happen to me? However, but okay, that's a whole different scenario than stating the man is just giving them what they want. That's not real, bro. Like, you
no,
can't
not at all.
say shit like that I don't know if he's a husband. I don't know if he's a father. He's definitely somebody's son. And not put your mom in a situation like that. Not put your wife or your sister or your aunt or anybody in a situation like that. Joe
It's
went way left, bro. He
I've
went
got his
way left.
comments.
Go ahead. Here.
I want to read his comments. Okay, so what about these women being accountable for their own behavior? They were groupies, sex, drugs, and rock and roll. Sex, drugs, rap. Sex, drugs, baseball, football, basketball, movies, television. See, it's called being a groupie. We forgot what that term meant. The bimbos come to the party, Brown explained.
Jeez.
They hang out, they get drunk, they snort lines of blow, and they have a good time. They use the hall closets to give head, bathrooms to get down, and you go get it in your coat. Man, I look, I can't read any more of this shit.
He put them all in. He put everybody in one box. Like
All
I
of
said,
them in one box. Yes.
there are some people,
yes.
some women that are irresponsible like that. And maybe you can call them whatever you want, roadies when it comes to rock and roll and that type of thing. And there is a class of individuals like that. But Cosby was accused for lots of
yes. Now, and I want to reiterate the same thing we talked about last week in regards to last show in regards to this. He didn't get off because he was found innocent of the accusations.
Fact.
He got off because he was not protected from self-incrimination. So basically, he admitted to doing all of these things.
Facts. And
his lawyers just failed to protect him from admitting openly to doing all of these things. So don't tell me that these women are guilty of any of this shit or they're complicit. They're responsible for this shit. This is my thought now with Joe Brown. I mean, he was pretty explicit about this shit. Makes me wonder, has he done this kind of stuff?
I mean, took the words right out of my mouth, man, because my other thought in that situation became the only thing, and I hate to say this like this. This is where it gets really bad for me. When you look at like statute of limitations and how they come into play and how you even want to, go about that. But 30 years since something's happened, right? How accurate is the account, right? But ultimately, this is what you hear. You hear the story. So regardless of the accuracy, you hear the story. So if there's one thing that I can potentially, say, well, maybe we should look at this more, it's how accurate are these stories that potentially happened in the early 80s, mid 80s, whatever. And at that point in time, it was 2018 or 1917, whenever he was on trial. So that was my only thing. Like, how far back can we go and we reaccount these situations and they actually have the same truth that they had when they actually happened? And then I hate to say this too. Why did 1 spark 2, 2 spark 5, 5 spark 10? We kind of see the same situation with the Deshaun Watson thing. So those are the only things of this entire Bill Cosby thing that always kind of had me like, I don't know what to believe. But however, I would never go and discredit the entirety of somebody's story. Like they deserved it almost. Like that's what Judge was saying. Like
he wasn't almost saying it. He was literally saying they deserve it. They
and
asked
that's
for it.
insane. That's fucking insane.
Like,
wow.
When all of this, I'm like you. When all of this stuff kind of unfolded, and it was another woman, another. I felt like you, like, yo, man, how true are these accounts?
How far can we go?
They're 20, 30 years old. Okay, but where he lost me is when he admitted to it.
Yeah, and that was when
he lost me.
And so you was like, well, shit, you know.
You whipped out the match and justified all the smoke behind you. So I got nothing for Cosby, man. Nothing. And Joe Brown just kind of like packed himself into that same
boy. He's made it very clear that that's his guy.
Yeah.
You know, Bill is his dude. I don't know if they're the same age, but Bill is 80 plus. Judge got to be pushing somewhere up there. He kind of and off the rocker too. So I mean, those are the things. So like we got to hold people accountable. So like I said, Bill did end up, admitting to it. And though it took all this time, all this years for it to come out, eventually it came out. There was questions about why so long and then why so many and how so many. But he admitted to that. Now, was he in his right mind when he did it? I don't know. Potentially he wasn't. There you go. It got kind of thrown out. But it goes to the Deshaun Watson thing, and it's funny. It's funny that I can kind of tie these together, and I'm not talking about it in a last manner, but it's more so like the exact same thing happened. It started with one account that was not on anybody's record, no police report, nothing. And then before you know it, every day there's number 2, there's number 3, and before you know it was up to 16. I was like, how many fucking massage parlors are in Houston, Texas? Like, how the fuck does one of them turn into 16? And I'm not, giving him a pass to say he didn't, but that's kind of what, I feel like every woman at some point that he maybe had any kind of encounter with was all going to, well, I can spend my
and manufacture victims.
Yeah. And that's kind of how I felt initially during the Cosby trial, because they were just piling on. It was getting crazy. But then, like you said, he admitted to it. And 30 years later, however long it was, then you had the situation you had. So news, Judge Joe Brown. I mean, I know he don't have his show no more. I think that's been gone.
No. And maybe that he needed some shine. He was finally on TV again and just let it all hang out. He just, man, embarrassing.
All right, man. So moving into the conversation tonight, this is a hot one, man. Players getting paid. So NCAA came out a couple weeks ago and stated that now players can make financial gain off of their likeness. We know for a very long time it was always considered, against NCAA policy that you couldn't, monetize yourself in any kind of way. You couldn't accept anything from anybody, couldn't do anything. Basically, show up, play basketball, play football, whatever your sport is. And once you graduate and or go to the NFL or NBA, then you can start getting paid. However, while you're here, we are going to sell the shit out of your name and make millions of dollars off of you. But that was kind of like the cost to be at this institution. You scratch our back and eventually you'll get yours scratched. So for me, I'm a little bit different. So I had to go back and me and you talked. I had to go back and take a look. The NCAA themselves have not truly came up with any compensation measures, i.e. the school is giving them X amount to play. So that's what was initially on the topic of discussion. Players should get paid, but how much is fair? Well, this isn't that. They're just simply stating that now you can TikTok, you can YouTube, you can sign endorsement deals, you can do all these other things and receive compensation, but the institution itself still isn't giving you any money outside of your scholarship.
Right.
So I put that in the airspace because now I say this: if the system was already tainted in its unfair ways, it's even more tainted now. Because I'm gonna just say this: if you recruit me and I come to your school and I'm having a great year, somebody's gonna whisper in my ear, because this is something that I hate, but you might want to preserve yourself so you don't get injured. What incentive do I got to play
Yeah.
in the conference tournament or big games that matter or the NCAA tournament or any of that shit other than pride if I have it. But if
And we're
somebody's
seeing that
trying
now.
to monetize me,
Yeah.
I don't give a fuck about my pride. I will sit the fuck out. We've heard players like Ben Simmons say before, like, I didn't come here to school. I came here to
Yeah.
basketball. And as soon as the season was over, what did he do? His ass packed up, went to Australia and started training
Right.
for the NFL or the NBA draft.
Obviously
So
not his jump shot, but
I say all this to say,
Yeah.
why don't they just completely get rid of any standards when it comes to college recruitment, when it comes to actually, getting into the what do you call it? The
in
NCAA
in
clearinghouse.
just
That's
end
over.
amateurism. Just end amateurism.
Yeah, it's just over with.
That's what the NCAA needs to do for far too long. Now, I'm glad that they're getting paid. Now, everybody needs to understand that the schools are not required to pay them. Their compensation from the school is that free ride to college.
Right.
That's their compensation. But what the NCAA has always done is considered antitrust.
Mhm.
We're not going to pay you your fair market value. You're not,
You're
unless you're
amateur.
going
I'm
to,
not paying you shit.
yeah, exactly. And that's been the problem. Every business is based on fair market value. The NCAA pulls $1 billion a year profit off of these athletes, their likeness, their name, sporting events, etc.
Yep.
And we already know that these athletes don't get anything.
So
Now they do.
I got to say this too. In a lot of ways, you just said that, every company kind of pulls fair market value, but
Yeah.
do they truly? Because just like when you're getting out of college, they still want you to have experience, which requires you to have an internship, which you don't get paid. In a lot of ways, if you look at like your time in college, because a lot of them ain't finishing. Most of them are doing 1 year
Right.
for basketball, the 2 mandatory that
Yeah.
they have to do for NFL. So, or just age out to the age 21, whatever that is. So 2 or 3. But the moral of the story is when you say that, that is the internship. This
Yeah.
time that you're in
Yes.
college in a lot of ways.
It's not that
And
they're in
so
college, is it?
yeah, and so for me, like getting paid from your own likeness, I'm okay with. So
Right.
me being able to monetize myself digitally, whatever, market myself and receive something, I'm okay with. But the moment the school starts hand over fist, I'm not okay with that because you've
See,
supremely corrupted anything that comes with the
yes.
education system. And
Yeah.
you know what you also do before you jump in, P? This is what scares me. Now I have some psychotic father that has a 3-year-old who's giving him whatever, a baseball, a basketball, a football, a bat, and forcing this sport onto them because now little junior can get paid before he gets paid.
Yeah.
And that's all about the parenting more so than the actual kid. So you set one thing in motion and then a whole bunch of other dominoes fall. And there's too many kids that are set on making the NBA or NFL or wherever to take care of their family. That's not their fucking job.
Yeah.
That's a problem. And it starts at the top. Every problem traditionally starts at the top. Whenever there's an issue, okay, we talk about, black people having the struggle, not having what the wealth gap is here. That starts at the fucking top. That doesn't start down here with us. So when
It's
you
the
put
people
something
that
in play
control
like
it.
this, they're controlling this. And I'm telling you, when Lil Junior is playing T-ball now, he gonna be getting yelled at and screamed at 3-4 years old because his father's psychotic and telling him, we've been working on your swing since you were born. He's 4. But now I know he can get paid and monetize himself. So let me get him prepared for that
We got to prepare.
15 years from now. This is horseshit, man. I
Yeah.
don't agree with it. I hate it. It's horseshit. The
And
education
I'll
is
go
gone.
now. My stance is I appreciate the fact that this has finally happened. Now, how a parent raises their child, we already know that this time that what you described has already happened. I cannot think of his name. He was drafted by the Raiders back in
Oh,
80s.
yeah. That's it'll come to me.
Yeah.
The kid that couldn't eat sweets, couldn't eat Big Macs,
Yes. His father did all of that shit to him, and he's ruined. So
heroin,
that
drugs.
those kinds of things are outside of the NCAA's purview. The NCAA doesn't have anything to do with this. Now, where I see this thing going awry is every school has boosters. Every
Tom
school
Marinovich.
has
There you go, P. Tom
paid boosters.
Marinovich.
Yeah, Tom Marinovich ruined his life. His fucking
Ruined.
overbearing piece of shit father just ruined his life. Had him working out, all this other stuff. But
Yeah.
that's that cautionary tale that you described so perfectly. Now, with the NCAA, the schools don't have to pay. They got boosters that will.
Yep. And we can go Nevin Shapiro there. That's the guy from
Yeah.
US. I'm
Yes,
sorry,
that's right. Yeah, we
Miami
talked about that.
in the
Yeah.
early 2000s that
Yeah.
absolutely
I mean,
went crazy, all kind of jail time.
hey, what's the big ass Texas, the big ass dealership in Texas, car dealership that's all over the place? You see him everywhere. I cannot think of the name of him. But
Got
it's
me on.
one dude, is one guy that owns all that shit. And he's a booster for, I want to say, the University of Texas.
Got me on.
You
that
can guarantee that he is going to have every name athlete he can get money in their pockets to, endorsing his car lots, going to University of Texas.
Absolutely.
That's where this thing goes awry. The
Yep.
schools don't have to pay.
Yep.
Now, their bottom line might be affected because it's going to be who has the biggest boosters at this point. You know, who's got the boosters with the most money that can pull these athletes. I think we're going to probably see within the next 5 to 10 years name athletes that would usually go to name schools going to places like Harvard to play ball, Princeton to play
Think
ball.
so? I don't
Yeah,
think
because there's if you
But
can find the greatest concentration of wealth from
True.
different universities, you're going to
True.
see where these bodies are going to go.
But you got to look at this. But you got to look at like I take like USC or University of Miami. USC. Everybody that's come out of there that's got some kind of film degree, actors. That's a big pool. Texas, of course, oil money and all through Texas and Oklahoma, another big pool. US, like I said, Miami, just because it's Miami, their tradition, their history, where they are, another big pool. But I think you'll see other schools, Nebraska's, Michigan's, like though they're notable colleges, like what's the incentive to go here now?
Right. I can't truly monetize myself at my maximum value. I can't maximize my value going to
Iowa.
say Indiana,
right.
Iowa.
Exactly.
So these schools are going to become, because Iowa has always been like lineman central, linebacker central, shit like that, right? They're going to be also Rands before you know it, because no one is going to go there. I can't max. Look, I'm like number 5 coming out of high school. I'm not going to you. Are you kidding me? I can't maximize my value sitting in a cornfield. No, I'm good. I'm going to go to USC. I'm going to go here. I'm going to go there. And the reasons may be unknown, but they are going to maximize that. Yeah.
Watch UCLA come back. UCLA is going to be. They're going to be another one that comes back. I mean, of course, you're going to have the Dukes, the Kentuckys. They can't wait to stick their teeth in, North Carolina, whatever. But you'll see UCLA for years, 70s, 60s, 70s, were the dominance in college basketball. There's so much money out in Hollywood. That shit going to come back prominent. But again, so I've had this conversation at work. I've had this conversation in different forums. Initially, and what I still stand to, I do not agree with, like you said, the school, no kidding, saying, well, because you're, what do you call it, a 5-star recruit, we're going to pay you $10,000 a semester. 3-star.
That I don't agree with. I don't agree.
Blah, 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 blah. I don't agree with that.
Now,
but monetizing your own, I'm okay with that, because that's just saying, like, for instance, if I start a podcast and my podcast blow up, like you trying to tell me I couldn't receive the benefits from that, that's nuts. So I'm okay with that. But when and if the NCAA themselves kick in with a certain like system of pay, almost like, well, you're a 1-star, that's minimum wage. Minimum wage is $2,000 a semester. You're a 5-star, top rated, looked at as a potential lottery pick. That's $20,000 a semester. When they start doing that, already, I think the incentive to continue playing whatever sport it is has already decreased, because all I got to do is show up for a couple of games, show my ass. People know I got talent, and I'm still gonna get drafted. We see that all the time when the kid just gets hurt. Kids got hurt, they can't help that they get hurt, and they still get drafted high because of their potential. Now, this is what kids are going to do
every football season. You see it every football season, every college football season, just before bowl games happen. such sit down. They're a potential lottery pick. They're
Fact.
not going to play the bowl game. And you hear these announcers, well, they should be playing for the love of the game. No, motherfucker, I'm playing for the love of my knees and a paycheck.
True.
And that's I'm glad this happened because it removes that social stigma
Okay.
that that has permeated sports for far too long.
Which is
The NCAA is going to control your brown body and maximize the dollar off of it while you get nothing.
And I still think, in a lot of ways, before we
Yeah.
close this out for the night, that they're still going to win, right? Like, because if you're getting paid, even if you are now getting something, this is almost like, and I use this as an analogy, but don't take this offensively if you're listening. It's like the Juneteenth. We gave you a holiday, but that gives us time, or that takes the light off of us from doing the real social justice moves we need to make.
Yeah, we don't have to do shit now. You got another day.
Yeah.
Leave us alone.
So think about this.
Yeah.
You're monetizing yourself. And let's go lucrative. We've seen a couple kids already sign like $1 million endorsement deals, shit like that. For your funky ass $1 million, and I'm saying that like I have a $1 million, I don't. But your funky ass $1 million is still potentially millions upon millions of what we'll make off of you. Ticket sales, revenue,
no doubt.
Jerseys, the whole thing. The one good thing about this shit is at least I get NCAA college football back. I go back to the O'Bannon brothers in the mid 90s. They fucked us when they start, they came out of UCLA in the mid 90s.
Yeah.
Oh my God, sorry. But at some point in time, they were the ones that were leading that like
this
class
charge.
action suit.
Yes.
Yeah, they were of people making money off their likeness and so what, and then eventually they won the case and they killed all the video games and everything, and therefore they kind of ended all.
Yeah, they did. They just killed every college video game.
2014 was the last one. So at least that's coming back, and I say that lightly because this is much bigger than that. But they fought the hard fight, and it took time. But they won eventually. And there's a couple other no-name people. I won't say no name, but they're not really acknowledged for what they've done. I read something that a few years ago there was somebody who had a scholarship to do something, maybe hoop, maybe play football, but he decided to turn that down because he had a prominent YouTube channel already, and he was booming off of it. And they were like, "No, you can't accept this and have this because you would be getting money paid." And so he declined his scholarship and kept making profits off of his YouTube channel. And so I take that story, and I'm sorry that I can't call his name. I had just read it researching for this. In situations like that some kids had to make certain choices, and he chose to like, well, fuck it. I just won't play sports because guess what? I'm making money now. So he's opened the door for people, younger kids, to, go for it and still, make money off their likeness. So, I congratulate them, but I'm still against, let it be known, I'm still against the NCAA no shit, hand over fist and money to players. Because at that point, you've completely ruined the college athletic system. And I don't care about nobody's GPA. I don't care if they skip class. We're not even going to play that game. You want me to come there to represent your school, wear the jersey, put money in your pocket, whether I win or lose. And at the same time, I'm going to get compensated while I wait to go where I want to go. The whole college athletic system at that point is dead to me. Absolutely dead. For any kid who really wants to go to college and be an athlete and a student, that shit is shit. Like
it's pointless at that. It's pointless to even call it the college experience once that happens.
It's done.
Because it becomes, like I said, I still think everything's going to hinge on these boosters. But it then becomes, what school has the most money to pay these guys?
Yeah,
these girls, these young ladies, who any athlete of any kind of stature.
Because the next thing is now they almost unionize as players, and they say already as amateurs we don't get paid enough, and it's over at that point. The entirety of everything is shot. Like once you open that door, you can't change it, can't go back, because
there's one point. One thing that really makes me happy about this. let's consider all the athletes that we've seen go through college, come out of high school, big name, go through college, and never make it to the league
Oh
of
yeah,
any kind.
absolutely.
They've gone through college and they're broke. They got
Yep.
a college education, but they're broke, or they're living hand to mouth, barely making it. This affords that athlete the opportunity to make money to start to help his family immediately, her family immediately.
Facts.
So that's where
That's
the
a good point.
upside for me is. That's where the upside to me. It's going to get fucked like everything else. That
Of course, it's always gonna get
anything
corrupt.
dealing with money is going to get corrupted. We already know that.
But I
But
like that, P. I appreciate that because I have not thought about that. But that
yeah,
is very true. It shouldn't be all the pressure is on that kid to make or break the family. But you're right.
yes,
There's gonna be a lot of 4-year athletes that may end up getting drafted late in some round of whatever sport, but they're
yeah,
not a lottery pick. But
yeah,
if I've been good enough to sign a small deal, that small deal being a $1 million deal for 2 years, that
yeah.
still pays the bills if I left mom alone,
Dude, it,
pays off mom and dad's house if they got a mortgage,
yeah,
whatever I'm trying to do, and I don't have to put that pressure on myself that I need to be a
right,
lottery pick.
yeah.
I
If you come,
like that part.
if you grow up in a household that's making $22,000 a year,
Oh shit.
and you suddenly have the opportunity because you can play basketball, football, tennis, whatever, and somebody says, "Hey, we want to pay you $1 million to endorse this."
A
That's
sports
life
drink
changing.
or
That's
whatever.
life
Hell
changing.
yeah. And
Yeah,
you're right. It might not lead to an NBA or NFL career, but at least my time here, I did
yeah,
graduate. I got my degree. I'm gonna go be an
right.
engineer or whatever I'm gonna be. I made my small little deal. I had a great college experience playing my
Yeah,
sport. Maybe we won a couple conference championships. Hell, maybe I even won it all. And my entire college experience at that point has been phenomenal. You
right.
know, no
And
stress, no worry, and I'm able to move forward. I
mhm,
like that part. But when the
those are the people
NCAA
that
comes
this
in,
benefits the most.
it's fucked. When the
Yeah,
NCAA looks at this as a roster, so to speak, and they say, okay, well, Smith is coming out of Chicago. He's the number one power forward in the country.
yeah,
He's gonna make 25K a semester. But our bench rider, 15th player, I mean, he's just barely on the team. He only getting 1,500. It's fucked.
yeah,
And that's all I got to say about
yeah.
that, man.
And
So
yeah.
let's close out, man. Let's move into our final segment. We run a little long.
Yo,
So
where's it at? Come on, where's it at?
bro, I left the shit downstairs.
Look,
Uh, looking
I
around.
I want to tell a quick story. All right. So,
I left the shit downstairs.
I can't. When did you get to Luke? I'm gonna keep this as short and concise as
Well,
possible.
when you met me, that was my
Yeah.
second time at Luke, but
Right.
so that would have been 2008, and then I crossed
Okay.
in 09.
Yeah, I thought so. All right.
But
So
that's when you met me.
you came to the office where I was working in 2009, and everybody to a person. This was always my spiel. You're gonna go to school. You're gonna take care of your families. Work will take care of itself.
Facts.
And almost to a person, oh, sorry, P, I don't want to go to school. I don't want to go to school. Oh, I'm tired of going to school. Da, da, da. No, you're going to go to school. You're
I
going to
had
take care
already,
of your
I had already
family.
got my bachelor's.
Yeah,
Put
you
that.
already got your bachelor's. But
Okay.
to a person, nobody wanted to go. And admittedly, until I got in that position, I did not want to go to school. I mean, shit, I was dead set against it. But eventually I got my ass in school and I got my degree. And the thing about it was, it gave me more opportunities, and I wanted everybody to have those same opportunities and have that feeling of accomplishment. I don't need this. I don't need to wear that uniform every day because I got my sheepskin. I've got this. I've got that. You're prepared for that next step. So
Right.
all of that, I have to say that I am so proud to see that master's degree
And I left the
with
shit.
Clyde Wesley Oliver's name on it.
Well, I appreciate you. I'll clap myself up. Perseverance was at some point in my life, it clicked that I need to be the right type of role model. I need to change some of my habits. I need to change some of my behaviors. I need to put my focus towards something that I can be proud of. And so I'm still a work in progress, so working on myself. Writing books, starting a podcast, doing creative things. But I wanted to finish this master's degree that I didn't really want to take on. Why? Because I wanted to be that inspiration for my kids one day.
Yeah.
And two, I realized I had gave my GI Bill to my children, so ultimately it was gonna come out of my pocket if I didn't do it while I was still on active duty.
Yeah.
And so through a deployment, through a fucking pandemic, when there was nothing to do, I found something to do. And
Yeah.
this is what it was. And so I got my master's in occupational safety and health, which is basically what I do in the military. So I'm kind of a nerd in that, right? It's OSHA safety related. Translates very well to the outside in
Very,
the
very well.
that I want to go that route. Summa cum laude. I'm not trying to, pat
Nah,
myself on the back,
man,
but
you
I,
better own that shit.
I
You better
passed
own it.
every course
You
with an
better
A.
own it. You better
Um,
own it.
so I don't know where my class ranking is, but I just know I graduated 4.0. So that was really cool to see because it showed me that no matter what I put my mind to, once you focus and buckle down, that end result, through the grace of God and then just having belief in yourself, you're going to get there, and so that's the perseverance part. The giving thanks part is what P just said. Years and years, go get that. And I'm watching him get a master's. I'm watching him get a doctorate. I'm looking at my sister, 2 masters. I'm looking at my brother-in-law, 2 masters. Looking at all kind of other people that I just know popping up on Facebook, another masters, this, that, and the other. And I'm like, man, not that I felt like I was being left behind, but I was more so like, well, why not? Right? Like
Yeah.
if it's in front of me, why not? And it's not to try to compete with these individuals, but I'm just looking at my body of work. If I want to, be something more than what I am, let's go
Yeah.
after it. So I have to give you thanks for pushing me. I have to give my sister thanks for being an inspiration. My brother-in-law Joe had to give him thanks for being an inspiration. And they did this all in their own way. But it also inspired me so much so that people are now asking me questions,
Yeah.
how to get into school. Is this the right program I should to take? How long did it take you? What was your challenges? So on and so forth. So sometimes you have to put your own ego to the side and do right by yourself, though you really don't want to. And that's kind of where I was. Like I was
Yeah.
just wasting space, video gaming, and that's a good hobby to have. But at the end of the day, you don't get no rewards from that other than just being good at the game.
Yeah.
So I thought about all that time that I wasted. I don't ride motorcycles anymore, so I didn't have that pastime. I don't hoop like I used to, so I didn't have that pastime. So other than going to the gym, that's all I had. And so
Yeah.
I chose to go after it, man. So I thank you. I thank my sister, like I said, my brother-in-law, every individual that I seen on Facebook. Congratulations to my homegirl, Jysla, or she got hers too. We both kind of started our journey while we was over there deployed. So she just posted her pictures with, her having on her cap and gown and sash and everything. So it's just great to see people go after things and accomplish those things. And ultimately this time around, I'm one of those individuals. So appreciate you, Proc. This has been a long one, man. Good show.
Good
Sorry
show.
we
Good
ran
show.
over. Donna, Will, Marcus, Chris, thanks for stopping in. Thanks for your comments. Your comments have been great. Thanks for the congratulations, Donna. Very nice of you. Yeah, man. The show is getting better. We're catching our groove now. I feel like we're going great. I'm excited about this CRT journey. So please go out to our YouTube channel, subscribe,
Please subscribe.
come to
Watch
Facebook,
us. Yeah.
subscribe, like when we post. Please share with individuals, anyone. Share it on your page. A lot of times you get hits when you don't even know you're getting hits because people didn't shared it. Just talk about us, man. Put us out there. Let conversation influence you, and keep inspiring people, man. And I think that's all I have for this evening. You got
That's all
anything
I
you
got.
want to go with?
I have nothing. You hit all the marks, brother. I appreciate it. Congratulations, man. I
Appreciate you, man.
look. I'm proud of you. And I talked to James and I talked to Gandhi just last week. They're both going to finish and graduate. And because I never walked, Gandhi's going to the same school that I went to. I'm going to walk when he walks.
Dope. I'll be there. Say less.
So I'm proud of what I call my people, my family, man. All of
Yeah.
you guys, to a person, have all done well, and I'm appreciative of that. You guys are my legacy.
Appreciate that, man. I don't think we need to say nothing else after that. We are
That's
your
it.
legacy. Well, this
Everybody,
is CEO and the Doctor. this has been another great episode. So until next time, take care of yourself. We out.